You know, if you've spent any real time in a gym, you've heard it a million times. Go heavy or go home. It's practically gospel, right? The idea that you have to lift massive weights to build muscle. But what if that's not the whole story? What if there was a way, a scientifically proven way, to get the exact same results using light weights? So that's the big question we're diving into. We're going to challenge one of the oldest rules in the book and look at some fascinating science that could seriously change the way you think about training, maybe forever. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts. To grow muscle, your body really listens to two main signals. The first is the one we all know, mechanical tension. That's the brute force, the physical strain from lifting heavy things. But there's this other path called metabolic stress. Now this one's different. It's not about how heavy the weight is. It's about creating a very specific chemical environment inside the muscle itself. And, as you can see, it happens to be a lot kinder on your joints. So how in the world do we tap into that metabolic stress pathway on purpose? Well, there's a really cool technique for that. It started out being called KAATSU, but you probably know it as blood flow restriction training, or just BFR for short. BFR is a total game changer. Basically, you wear these specialized cuffs, kind of like blood pressure cuffs, high up on your arms or legs. Now, here's the key thing to understand. They don't stop blood from getting into the muscle. They just slow down how fast it can get out. And that simple act of trapping blood in the muscle while you're lifting super light weights, well, it kicks off an incredible chain reaction for growth. Okay, so how does this actually work? How does wrapping a cuff around your arm trick your muscles into thinking they're lifting something huge? It really comes down to four powerful, almost secret biochemical triggers that create the perfect conditions for building muscle. We're going to walk through each one. First, we'll talk about creating what's called a metabolic crisis. Then, how it wakes up sleeping muscle fibers. After that, we'll get into the crazy hormone flood it unleashes. And finally, how it turns that awesome muscle pump you feel into a direct command to grow. Think about it like this. Your body is super efficient. When you lift a light weight, it only bothers to use your smaller endurance-type muscle fibers. It saves the big, strong, fast-twitch fibers for when you're lifting really heavy. But BFR changes the game. It creates this low-oxygen environment where the smaller fibers get exhausted almost instantly. So to keep going, your body has no choice but to call in the big guns, those powerful, fast-twitch fibers that have the most room to grow. You're basically tricking the system. Now get ready for this number, 290. Yeah, studies have shown that BFR training can cause your growth hormone levels to spike up to 290 times higher than your normal resting state. And no, that's not a typo. It is an absolutely mind-blowing hormonal response from lifting light weight. And that massive hormone surge creates this perfect recipe for growth. You've got that huge spike in growth hormone, which is like the master signal for your body to repair and build. That leads to more IGF-1 for muscle cell growth, more VEGF to build new blood vessels to supply those muscles, and maybe the coolest part, it slams the brakes on myostatin. Myostatin is literally the protein that tells your muscles, okay, that's big enough. BFR basically tells it to shut up for a while. And finally, let's talk about the pump. We all love getting a good pump, right? Well, with BFR, it's on a whole other level because the blood is literally trapped in the muscle. This makes the muscle cells swell up so much that they actually stretch. It's kind of like overinflating a balloon. Your cells feel that stretch and they think, whoa, this is a threat. And they respond with a direct signal, we need to get bigger and stronger to handle this pressure. So, the science sounds amazing, right? But the real question is, does it actually lead to real-world gains? I mean, how does it stack up against good old-fashioned heavy lifting? Well, the proof is pretty stunning. And this chart really tells the whole story. When scientists looked at a whole bunch of studies comparing muscle size gains from heavy lifting versus lightweight BFR, the results were statistically identical. Let me say that again. Lifting tiny weights, just 20–30% of your max, with BFR can build the same amount of muscle as grinding out reps with heavy joint-crushing weight. And look, this isn't just from one quirky study. We're talking about meta-analyses here, which are basically studies of studies. It's the highest level of scientific proof you can get. The scientific community agrees, for pure muscle size, BFR with light weights works just as well. Okay, I'm guessing you might be thinking, all right, I'm intrigued. How do I actually do this? So let's break down the most common scientifically proven way to do it. The go-to protocol is called 30-15-15-15,
It's simple. Your first set is a big one, 30 reps. That's what really gets that metabolic crisis going. Then you only rest for about 30 seconds and you bang out 3 more sets of 15 reps each. That's 75 reps in total, and I promise you, by the end of it, that little pink dumbbell is going to feel like it weighs a ton. So here are the other details you need to know. The weight or load is super light, just 20 to 30% of what you could lift one time. Now, the pressure in the cuffs is super important. It is not one size fits all. It has to be individualized based on what's called your limb occlusion pressure, something a professional can measure for you. And here's another key. You keep the cuffs inflated during your rest periods. You want to trap all that good stuff in the muscle. All right, before you get all excited and try to wrap a belt around your arm, we absolutely have to talk about safety. Because we're playing around with blood flow, this is a very powerful tool, and you have to use it responsibly.
And the short, direct answer to that question is no, it's not. There are some very specific medical conditions where you should definitely not try BFR training.
So let's be crystal clear here. If you have any history of blood clots, any kind of cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure that isn't under control, severe varicose veins, cancer, or if you're pregnant, this training method is not for you. Seriously, your health is number one. So if you have any doubt at all, talk to your doctor.
And this is maybe my most important warning of all. Please, please, please do not try to make your own BFR cuffs with things like knee wraps or surgical tubing. Real BFR cuffs are designed to slow down the blood out while still letting blood in. Makeshift stuff can just cut off all blood flow, which is incredibly dangerous and can lead to serious nerve damage or even worse. Don't do it. I absolutely love this quote because it just nails it. BFR is an amazing tool when you know what you're doing and have the right equipment. But if you don't, it can be a weapon against your own body. So get educated and find someone certified who can guide you.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? The old idea that you have to lift heavy to grow is, well, a myth. BFR is a legit, science-backed way to build serious muscle and save your joints from all that pounding. But it demands respect. Safety, proper gear, and getting expert advice aren't just suggestions. They're requirements. And that kind of leaves you with a question to think about. Whether you're trying to work around an old injury or you're just tired of feeling beat up all the time from heavy lifting, could this totally different way of training be the missing piece you've been looking for? Hey, if you learned something cool today, do me a favor and hit that like button. And of course, subscribe for more explainers where we break down the science and challenge old gym myths. Thanks so much for watching.